Welcome back to the Deep Dive, where we explore really fascinating topics. And today we're diving into the world of Extraheric AI. It's this concept that's kind of reshaping how we think about artificial intelligence. We'll be taking a close look at a research paper from the University of Tokyo. It's titled AI as Extraherics, Fostering Higher-Order Thinking Skills in Human-AI Interaction. Now, you might be thinking, isn't AI already making us smarter?
Well, that's a really good question. And the answer is, it's a bit more complicated than you might initially think.
Okay.
We often see AI presented as like a magical solution to, just about every problem we face. But in reality, over-relying on AI can actually be a detriment to our cognitive development.
That's interesting. It's like when I use my GPS. Yeah, it gets me to my destination, but I totally zone out during the entire trip.
Yeah.
My spatial awareness and my problem-solving skills, they just disappear.
I think that's a perfect example. And it goes beyond just GPS. Think about how much we rely on autocomplete or language translation or even AI-curated content. These tools are convenient for sure, but they can really limit our exposure to different perspectives, and they can turn us into, well, passive consumers of information instead of encouraging us to think critically for ourselves.
Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So where does this idea of Extraheric AI fit into all of this? It sounds like it's the complete opposite of what we've been talking about.
Exactly. The focus of Extraheric AI is to design AI systems that actually stimulate our thinking, not replace it.
Interesting.
The term itself comes from the Latin extra, which means to draw forth. So imagine an AI that challenges your assumptions and encourages you to consider different points of view, and it ultimately helps you develop stronger, higher-order thinking skills.
Okay, so I'm starting to understand how this is different, but I'm curious. How does Extraheric AI work in practice? What does this drawing forth actually look like?
Well, the research paper, it outlines 8 different interaction strategies that Extraheric AI can utilize. Let's start with suggesting and recommending. Instead of just giving you a single answer, an Extraheric AI system, it might offer several different solutions to a problem. And each solution has its own unique pros and cons. This forces the user to analyze the information, compare the different options, and then ultimately make a more informed decision.
So it's like the AI is saying, here are some options, now you figure out which one is the best fit for your specific needs. It really encourages the user to think critically, and not just blindly accept the first answer they see.
Exactly. Another interesting strategy is explaining. Imagine you're reading a complex news article. Instead of just offering a simple summary, the AI could provide you with deeper context, maybe highlight any potential biases, or even delve into the credibility of the sources. It's all about giving users the tools they need to form their own well-informed opinions.
I see. This feels incredibly relevant today, especially with the rise of misinformation and fake news. Giving people the tools to critically evaluate information is more crucial than ever.
I completely agree. And speaking of critical evaluation, the next strategy is nudging. This approach is a bit more subtle. It gently guides users towards exploring diverse viewpoints without explicitly telling them what to think.
So, for example, if I'm someone who constantly reads articles that align with my existing beliefs, the AI might subtly suggest content that offers a different perspective or maybe even a counter-argument.
That's the idea. It's about broadening our awareness and encouraging users to step outside of their own echo chambers, but without being forceful or manipulative.
Okay, yeah, that's a really interesting approach. Those strategies are really fascinating, and I'm definitely curious to hear more about the others. But before we move on to those, I think it's important to address a common concern that people have, and that's the fear of AI becoming too powerful or even controlling.
Right, I understand that concern, and it's something we should always keep in mind as we develop these systems. However, the core principle behind Extraheric AI is about empowerment, not control.
So instead of seeing AI as a threat, we should view it as a tool to enhance our capabilities and help us reach our full potential.
Precisely. Extraheric AI isn't about creating AI overlords. It's about fostering a more collaborative and mutually beneficial partnership between humans and technology.
That's a really powerful way to put it. And I think it highlights the potential of this technology to not just make us smarter, but also to make us more human.
I think so too.
So let's dive into those remaining strategies and see how they further contribute to this idea of AI as a partner in our cognitive development.
Sounds good. Let's explore those next. It's really fascinating how this concept kind of challenges our usual way of thinking about what AI's role should be in our lives. Instead of striving for this, seamless automation, Extraheric AI actually embraces a certain degree of friction. You could even call it a little bit of cognitive grit to kind of spark those deeper thinking processes.
Yeah, I really like that grit analogy. It's like the difference between choosing the easy path or pushing yourself to really grow and learn. But with Extraheric AI, that push, it comes from a collaborative partnership with technology.
Yeah.
It's not just about forcing yourself to do it.
Exactly. And the research paper, it doesn't just start at the conceptual level. It actually delves into practical strategies for implementing this idea. One example is debating and discussing. So imagine you're engaging in a lively debate, but your debate partner is an AI. And this AI is playing devil's advocate, challenging your assumptions, and forcing you to articulate your reasoning in a really clear and concise way.
Wow. That sounds incredibly helpful for anyone who needs to improve their argumentation skills. I mean, lawyers, debaters, even writers could really benefit from having this AI sparring partner to help them really refine their ideas.
Absolutely. And then we have another strategy called questioning. Now, instead of directly opposing your viewpoint, the AI using this strategy would pose these thought-provoking questions that encourage you to think about an issue from different angles. It's almost like having a Socratic dialogue with a machine, constantly pushing you to examine your own understanding more deeply.
So it's not about finding the right answer. It's about developing a mindset of constant inquiry and exploration. I can see how this would be extremely valuable in educational settings, particularly in subjects like philosophy or critical thinking, where there isn't necessarily a single correct answer.
Exactly. And then there's scaffolding, which is a concept that originates from educational theory. In this approach, the AI provides support and guidance at the beginning, but it gradually fades away as the user becomes more competent. It's kind of like training wheels for your mind.
I like that. So instead of just giving you the answer outright, the AI might offer hints or break down a complex problem into smaller steps or even provide useful resources. And then as you start to grasp the concept, the AI support slowly decreases. It's a really smart way to foster independence and help people build confidence.
Exactly. And the last two strategies, simulating and demonstrating, they really tap into the power of AI to create these immersive learning experiences. So with simulating, you could imagine practicing a presentation in front of a really tough audience, or maybe navigating a difficult ethical dilemma, and you could do all of this in a safe virtual environment.
Wow. It's like having a personalized training ground for your mind, where you can explore different situations, test out different strategies, and develop your skills without having to face any real-world consequences.
Exactly. And with demonstrating, you could observe an AI that's skillfully solving a problem, or maybe crafting a persuasive argument. It's all about learning by watching an expert and picking up new techniques and approaches just through observation.
It reminds me of those masterclass videos where you get to watch professionals at work, except in this case, the master is an AI, capable of showcasing all sorts of cognitive skills and problem-solving techniques.
Right. And what's truly exciting is that we're only just scratching the surface of what's possible with Extraheric AI. It's a very new field, a lot of room for innovation and growth.
It definitely feels like we're at the beginning of a major shift in how we think about and interact with AI. But one question that comes to mind is, how do we make sure that this shift leads to positive outcomes? How can we actually measure the effectiveness of Extraheric AI and ensure that it's actually making us smarter, not just keeping us busy?
That's a really important question. And it leads us to a crucial aspect, which is evaluating the impact of this technology. And that's actually what we'll be discussing next.
So when we talk about measuring the impact of Extraheric AI, how do we actually go about doing that? Can we really quantify something as complex as smarter?
It's definitely a challenge. But the research does offer some potential avenues. One approach is to focus on measuring changes in what's known as germane cognitive load.
Right. We talked about that a little earlier. It's essentially the mental effort that actually leads to learning and understanding, right?
Exactly. And there's this really interesting tool called the NASA TLX. It was originally designed to measure workload in complex tasks, but it's been adapted to specifically assess different types of cognitive load.
So if we use the NASA TLX, we could potentially see if Extraheric AI is actually leading to that increase in beneficial mental effort that we're looking for.
Precisely. But it's not just about the effort itself. We also need to see if that increased cognitive engagement actually translates into tangible cognitive gains.
So how do we measure those gains? Do we give people pop quizzes after they interact with Extraheric AI?
Not exactly pop quizzes, but we can utilize well-established frameworks like Bloom's Taxonomy, which categorizes different levels of thinking skills.
Oh yeah, Bloom's Taxonomy. I remember learning about that back in school. It goes beyond just memorizing facts, right? It looks at applying knowledge, analyzing information, and even creating something new.
Exactly. So by designing tests or tasks that specifically target those different levels of thinking, we can observe if people are
kind of moving up the ladder.
Yeah, exactly. Moving up the ladder of the taxonomy, so to speak, after they've interacted with an Extraheric AI.
So we might give someone a problem-solving task before and after they've used an Extraheric AI tool and see if their approach changes. Maybe they come up with more creative solutions, or they show deeper understanding of the concepts involved.
Precisely. And it's important to remember that it's not just about, quantifiable knowledge. We also need to pay attention to more subtle changes in attitudes and behaviors.
Like being more curious, or being more open to new ideas, or even that sense of agency, that feeling of having control over your own learning. Those things are definitely harder to measure, but they're just as important.
I couldn't agree more. The goal of Extraheric AI is to cultivate a mindset of continuous learning and growth. It's not just about stuffing information into our brains. It's about fostering a deeper understanding and a love for learning.
Right. It's about that journey of exploration and discovery. It sounds like we're moving beyond this idea of AI as just a tool and more towards AI as a partner in our own cognitive development. But like with any powerful tool, there are always potential risks and challenges to consider, right?
Absolutely. One of the biggest concerns is ensuring that Extraheric AI systems are designed responsibly and ethically. We need to be extremely mindful of potential biases, avoid creating those echo chambers we talked about earlier, and make sure that users always retain control over their own thinking and their own decision-making.
So it's not just about making AI that challenges us to think. It's about making sure that challenge is leading us in a positive direction. It's about finding that delicate balance between support and autonomy.
Exactly. And this is where collaboration becomes absolutely crucial. We need AI researchers, educators, ethicists, and even policymakers all working together
Hmm.
to make sure that this technology is developed and deployed in a way that benefits individuals and society as a whole.
This has been a truly fascinating deep dive. We've explored what Extraheric AI is,
Right.
how it works, the potential benefits, and the challenges that we need to be aware of. As we wrap up, I'm curious to get your perspective on the future of this field. Where do you see Extraheric AI going in the next,
Yeah.
say, 5 to 10 years?
Well, I truly believe that we're at a pivotal moment in our relationship with AI. Extraheric AI offers a path towards a future where technology doesn't just automate tasks, but actually enhances our cognitive abilities. It empowers us to become more creative, more critical thinkers, and ultimately helps us navigate a world that's becoming increasingly complex.
That's a really inspiring vision. And it really emphasizes the importance of approaching AI development
Mm.
with a focus not just on intelligence,
Mm.
but also on wisdom ethics
Yeah.
and a deep understanding of what it means to be human.
I couldn't have said it better myself. As we move forward, we need to remember that the goal is not to create AI that thinks for us, but to create AI that helps us think better for ourselves, for our communities, and for the future of humanity.
That's a fantastic note to end on. And for our listeners out there, we'd like to leave you with a few questions to ponder. How might Extraheric AI transform the landscape of education work and even personal growth in the coming years? And what role might you play in shaping this emerging field? These are really important questions to think about as we continue to explore this fascinating intersection of technology and the human mind.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Extraheric AI.